They say legends never die, but when the curtain finally falls, even the brightest stars leave behind a silence that echoes forever. Dick Van Dyke wasn't just a beloved actor, comedian, and dancer. He was the heartbeat of an era. And now, as the world mourns the end of a century-long life, we're left asking, what really happened in those final days? What did the cameras miss? And how did a man who made us laugh for generations say goodbye when the lights went out? This is the emotional story of Dick Van Dyke at 100, and we dare you not to cry. Long before he became one of America's most beloved entertainers, Richard Wayne Van Dyke was just a skinny kid from West Plains, Missouri. Born on December 13th, 1925, during the Great Depression. Dick grew up in Danville, Illinois, with dreams far bigger than his small-town life. He wasn't born into fame or wealth. His father was a salesman, his mother a stenographer. Life was modest, simple. But even then, Dick had a spark, a knack for performing, a natural charm that turned heads and lifted spirits. As a teenager, he considered becoming a minister, but the stage called louder. During World War II, he served in the U.S. Army Air Forces, though he was denied pilot training due to his weight. Instead, he entertained the troops. That's where the showman inside him truly awakened. After the war, he pursued radio work and eventually moved into television, hustling his way through game shows, commercials, and variety gigs. By the early 1950s, Dick Van Dyke was on the rise, but few could have predicted just how high he'd soar. It wasn't long before Dick's boundless energy and effortless charm landed him his big break. The Dick Van Dyke Show. Airing from 1961 to 1966, the sitcom became a cultural landmark. With his boyish grin and rubbery physical comedy, Dick turned the role of Rob Petrie into a household name. Paired with Mary Tyler Moore, the two became TV royalty. Audiences fell in love with his perfect mix of humor, heart, and humility. Then came the silver screen. In 1964, Dick enchanted the world as Bert, the Cockney chimney sweep, in Mary Poppins. His musical numbers, quirky accent, and dancing on rooftops captured the hearts of millions. 2 years later, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang proved he was no one-hit wonder. He became the face of family-friendly entertainment, the kind you could laugh with, cry with, and grow up watching. His fan base stretched across generations. Children adored him, parents respected him, and critics praised him. Awards followed. So did opportunities. But even at the peak of his fame, something more complicated lingered behind the smile. Dick Van Dyke was always open about his demons. While his public persona radiated joy behind closed doors, he wrestled with addiction. Alcohol, in particular, took a toll. He once admitted that it started as a social drink and slowly became something he needed, something that controlled him. For years, he battled in silence, showing up on set with a smile while hiding a deeper struggle inside. In the 1970s, Dick checked himself into rehab. He didn't hide it. In fact, he spoke openly about his recovery, trying to destigmatize addiction during a time when many still suffered in silence. But the challenges didn't stop there. In the decades that followed, Dick endured professional setbacks. Projects flopped. Studios passed him over for younger stars. Hollywood, which once adored him, slowly turned its spotlight elsewhere. And then, there was personal loss. In 1984, his beloved partner, Michelle Triola, died after a long battle with cancer. They had been together for over 30 years. The grief was enormous, and for a man who had given so much laughter to the world, he now found himself searching for joy again in his own life. As Dick Van Dyke approached his 100th birthday in December 2025, fans around the world held their breath. Would he make it? Could the man who danced across rooftops, made generations laugh, and defined American television reach that rare milestone? And he did. On December 13th, 2025, Dick celebrated his 100th birthday surrounded by close family, friends, and a lifetime of memories. He appeared frail, yes. His once energetic movements were slower, his voice softer, but his eyes still sparkled. Private photos from that day showed Dick sitting by a window, holding hands with his wife Arlene, smiling gently as a jazz band played in the background. There was cake. There were tears. There were stories. Hundreds of them. And, according to one guest, Dick whispered to his grandson, "What a life, huh?" Just a few weeks later, in the quiet of his Malibu home, with the ocean waves brushing the shore outside his window, Dick Van Dyke passed away in his sleep. There was no pain, no dramatic ending, just peace. His family released a brief statement. Dick lived a life full of joy, laughter, and love. He left this world as he lived in it, gently, kindly, and surrounded by love. At 100 years old, Dick Van Dyke's cause of death was reported as natural causes related to age. There were no signs of trauma, no long illnesses reported publicly. Some media outlets speculated about minor complications due to age, respiratory weakness, heart rhythm changes, but nothing confirmed anything unusual. What mattered most was that Dick's final chapter closed softly, without suffering. In a world filled with chaotic goodbyes, he was given the rare grace of a peaceful farewell. But as tributes poured in, some stories surfaced that the public had never heard. A close family friend revealed that in his final years, Dick spent much of his time volunteering, secretly. Every Wednesday, he would visit a local children's hospital under a different name, dressed in a simple sweater and jeans. He'd sing old songs, tell stories, and make the kids laugh. No cameras, no press, just Dick being Dick. Another close friend shared that Dick had been writing letters, dozens of them, to old friends, co-stars, even fans, thank you letters, goodbye letters. One was addressed to Mary Tyler Moore, who had passed in 2017. It simply read, "You were the best dance partner a guy could have." And then there was his private diary. Not yet released in full, but family members confirmed it held hundreds of pages of reflections, poems, sketches, and lessons. In one entry he wrote, "I've lived to be 100, but I never forgot what it felt like to be 10. That's the secret." He also left behind instructions for his memorial. No suits, no speeches, just songs and dancing. I want people to leave smiling. When the news broke, it was like time paused. Social media flooded with tributes. Celebrities posted old photos and memories. Julie Andrews wrote, "He was my friend, my dance partner, my joy. The world is dimmer without him." Former Mary Poppins Returns star Lynn Manuel Miranda tweeted, "We all owe something to Dick. He taught us how to entertain without ego, how to give without asking." In Danville, Illinois, a statue of Dick was covered in flowers. His star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame became a candlelit shrine. Fans danced, sang, and told stories about how Dick had touched their lives. Netflix announced a re-release of The Dick Van Dyke Show with restored footage. Disney Plus featured a week-long tribute to Mary Poppins. And late-night hosts across the country dedicated emotional monologues to the man who made America laugh when it needed it most. But perhaps the most touching tribute came from a child, one who had met Dick at the hospital. The child drew a picture of Dick in a top hat with wings. The note read, "You made me happy. I hope you're dancing with angels now." Dick Van Dyke didn't just entertain us. He reminded us of the joy in life's simple things. A song, a dance, a smile. He lived 100 years, but his legacy will live for hundreds more. As we say goodbye to a man who made the world brighter, maybe we can carry his spirit forward. Maybe we can smile a little more, laugh a little louder, be a little kinder. Because Dick once said, laughter is the medicine, love is the cure, and music, well, music is everything in between. Let us know how you remember Dick Van Dyke in the comments. And subscribe for more true Hollywood stories.